So it's kind of a rainy day, so what are you going to do on a rainy day but go on YouTube and watch videos and listen to the radio? Well, that's what I do anyway. Maybe you don't. This thing about Kamala Harris, it really pains me every time, I'm not a fan of the bad things that have been happening in our country. I'm not a fan of the left at all. But I just feel uncomfortable when people dogpile on Kamala Harris and say, oh, she always sounds drunk. Now, definitely she sounds as if she's under the influence of something, but I'm not really sure that it's alcohol. So it's kind of like, are you giving alcohol a bad name? But I don't know. I said, well, maybe it's pot. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of a anti-anxiety drug. I don't know. But I feel really bad for this woman. I do, because no, I didn't vote for her to become president. No, I don't think she ought to have become president, but I don't hate her. And I saw the clip of her being interviewed by Don Lemon. Sorry, the cats are fighting. And I'm like, why is Don Lemon, not incarcerated? I thought that he led this horrible rampage against this Christian church, but he's acting like nothing happened. Well, whatever, whatever. He better not do that again. I'm telling you right now. Apparently they're still continuing to harass that congregation, which is just absolutely awful, or a certain group is. That is just disgusting to me. But when Kamala, they say, oh, it's a word salad, ha ha ha. And she's talking about the light within you. We all have this light within us. Don't let a particular candidate make you negative, or whatever she was saying. I know. It's like she's saying something positive. She's saying something peaceful that is so different from the hateful rhetoric that we've been seeing from much of the left, I would say. Much, not all. But moving right along, there are just a lot of things that people need to, in these last days, don't just march lockstep with the so-called conservatives. Again, maybe it's because I'm a Christian. I just feel uncomfortable when people call people stupid and make fun of them. And it's just, remember, that's a human being, They may not be doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're a human being, and they have a soul and they have a heart just like you and me. And it's the evil ones that really do horrible things that are the ones that we just need to really just say, hey. I even feel sorry for, the guy that stabbed Austin Metcalf. I even feel sorry for him, because he's a young kid and he was obviously really messed up in the head. And I really do think that he did intend to, it was a cry for help. He wanted attention. He intended to hurt somebody. I don't know if he intended to kill somebody. Maybe he did. I don't know what he was fantasizing about. But that was a terrible day. And I've seen the video where the guy he wasn't surrounded by a mob. He's tall and athletic. I can see that. He's a tall, fit young man. So he wasn't like this little Urkel character from, remember Family Matters? It was Urkel. Was he on Family Matters or The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I don't remember, because I watched both of those shows. Of course I did, in the 1980s. And, yeah. It's tragic, but, it's just, if people can't understand that it's wrong to kill somebody, and consider the circumstances, don't consider race. See, now, to her credit, Kamala Harris doesn't act that way. She doesn't speak that way. I don't think she does. She has said some kind of inflammatory things about President Trump during the election. She certainly did. Things which I know were untrue. He's a threat to democracy. It's like she's being told what to say, folks. And why this lady is not able to retire, I don't know. Why she continues to want to be a public figure, I don't know, unless she has no choice. That's the thing you have to think about. Does the woman have no choice? But what she was saying to Don Lemon, of course I'm not a fan of Don Lemon. It didn't sound that bad, and I feel really bad when conservatives are just mean, mean, mean. And there is this other guy that I subscribe to on YouTube. You know, I've already talked about him. I'm not going to say his name. He really seems to be racist. I subscribe to a lot of black content creators, and I subscribe to numerous white content creators. I'm not keeping count. A few times I've gotten annoyed with people and I unsubscribe. And then I resubscribe because I'm just a human being after all. I felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. Why in the world didn't you unsubscribe from this guy? He's definitely a racist. I just feel like what he's saying, some of what he's saying is like heartfelt. He's sharing from his heart, but he's going down the wrong road, trying to demonize all black people. Please don't go down that road. Or brown people, please don't go down that road. Can the voice of reason with you? Am I able to reach you? And it's true that sometimes we give people a pass because they're conservative. But I subscribe to another content creator. Sometimes I wonder if he's boozed up before he does his segments. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I will continue to listen to him because I think what he says is certainly of value. And I've been watching him for a while, and sometimes he can be a little bit mean and snarky. And I think he's a Christian, and I think he's tried to kind of temper his criticisms a little bit because, God is hearing every word that we're saying. You can't just be mean and call people names and not have an attack of conscience, I think. But we really ought to be very, very upset about senseless violence. People just getting jumped and getting beaten up because they're racist, the wrong race. This has been happening for a very long time. And so there was a white man, I can't remember what state it was in, somewhere in the South. He walks out of a bar or a club or whatever, and he gets jumped by a group this group already had gotten into a fight or jumped another person that was black. So I'm not sure it's totally a racial problem, but what did this white guy do, to antagonize these people? They just got it in their heads they want to go out and cause some trouble, and they're not teenagers. I mean, these are adults, folks. This is the thing. Again, it's a problem with adults acting like they're little lost children, They're like, they could be in their 30s. They're just, what the heck? How do you have all this money to just go into a bar, get drunk and decide you're going to form a mob for fun? It's kind of like being one of those football hooligans, right? It's the hooliganism. I believe that word comes from the Celtic. Hooliganism. I'm very proud of it. I'm part Celtic myself, This thing, it's so destructive for society. Boy, I just hope that I'm not tedious to listen to, because I didn't write everything down. I can read from a book. I can write a script. I can read from it. Well, then why don't you do that? I don't know. I just decided not to do it. Is it okay? I'm just speaking from my heart. But the same thing happened to a lady in my state last year. She was attending the Jazz and Rib Festival. And, it's got a lot of African, or I shall say, Black American presence. And it's a culture we should all be proud of, jazz and everything like that. And this woman just gets beat up for absolutely no reason. And she didn't do anything to provoke it. Now, who's going to say that's wrong? Who's going to instill a sense of shame? I wonder. Because I guess I'm trying to do my part. When we had Mr. Rogers, my goodness, if kids could grow up with Mr. Rogers, wouldn't it be wonderful? Because I remember one episode of Mr. Rogers. I used to show that to my kids when they were little, when we watched PBS. He had Wynton Marsalis on. He's a great trumpet player. And he said, Mr. Rogers, I really like you. I watched you when I was little and everything like that. Wynton might have been in his 20s at the time, but he was an adult. He said, I watched you and I really admire you. And I thought, that's really great. What in the world? Why are people just being so separated today? Yeah, I will still watch, things from conservatives. I think, well, you're a little cruel. You're a little bit harsh. I will see clips of liberals, but what I really hate is hatefulness. That's what I hate. And I saw a clip of I don't even know who she is, some blonde journalist who's a conservative getting menaced out of a pub in England. I thought that we're supposed to help the English. And these are grown people. They don't look like they're impoverished. They don't look like they're druggies. Grown people menacing this poor woman, white people, forcing her to leave a pub in England. Now, England, do we still have some work to do? Yes, we do. What is wrong with you? I thought a pub was supposed to be a friendly place. I'm waiting, if we have tried in America, we have certainly tried to have this idea like you can go to a pub and you can just be friends and you can just hang out with people and enjoy a nice time, throw some darts. But that doesn't work in America because basically there's the anti-alcohol contingent that says, oh, everybody's an alcoholic, a bar, what a terrible place. And so, of course, then we have to go to another extreme and say, well, let's just legalize pot because that's so much better than alcohol. Well, we used to have bar brawls, we used to have bar fights, but now we're having really strange, violent things happening, and it's something to do with drugs. I don't think it's just alcohol, folks. I don't think so. The random violence, it's a little bit people's brains. Alcohol can make people mean, it can make people violent, it can make people testy, nasty. Some people it makes them happy. Same thing with cannabis, apparently, or you want to say marijuana. Some people think, well, if I didn't have this marijuana, I wouldn't be able to get rid of the stress in my life. I wouldn't be so even keel. I wouldn't be so low key. But the same thing could be said for alcohol. My dad was a casual user of alcohol. He was not an abuser of alcohol. And I can tell you that when he drank alcohol, whether it was beer or a couple glasses of wine, it would make him calm. Perhaps it's possible that some pot can do that for some people. However, I have to say, 2 times I tried it. 2 times I tried the gummies, which you could buy in a gas station. Oh no, gas station drugs. You're not supposed, but they were supposed to be pot gummies. And both times, I'm like, I'm waiting for this mellowing effect, and it just is not happening. And the second time, I started to feel as if I couldn't think at all, as if I couldn't form thoughts. Like right now, I'm forming thoughts. My brain is functioning. I may be a little slow of speech. Okay. But, not having alcohol is not going to help me speak more quickly. Sometimes I feel as if alcohol helps me to become more articulate because maybe I have a form of autism. If somebody would honestly investigate that. They used to call alcohol the social lubricant. And my mom said, your dad is a very shy man. And I think during the 1960s, they really promoted, my parents didn't go into like the weed culture, although mother apparently had been exposed to it briefly in college. My dad shunned that utterly, but he never went to Vietnam. Your dad is very shy. My dad, he had problems, like would we call it autism? I don't know. Is everybody autistic who's a nerd? I'm not sure. But they called alcohol the social lubricant, but unfortunately they took it a little bit too far in the 1960s because people didn't know how to just be classy like the French. The French can like sip a couple glasses of wine after dinner and they're not alcoholics. But Americans, I don't know if it's the German influence, papa. And we had in the Cleveland, Ohio area, we had the German culture with the accordions and the polka and people drinking stein after stein of beer and ha ha. Yeah. It's not ha ha if your life isn't really going that well and you're not solving the problems in your life, but you're trying to escape your problems. I can see escaping your problems like in a pub for a little while with a friendly crowd. But I tried to go to a local place a few years ago as an adult, and I felt kind of weird because my parents often took me to places that's establishments that served alcohol. You might call them bars, but they did serve food, so they weren't just bars. And they weren't pubs because America doesn't do pubbing. We might call it a pub, but it's really a bar. And I went there and I thought it was going to be gemütlich, like the Germans say. Like, you feel gemütlich. It's the gemütlich atmosphere. Like, you're having a couple of beers. Papa, It wasn't. I tried to be gemütlich, but basically, who's there is just probably older guys wanting to pick up younger girls and younger girls there. It's like, well, nobody came over to talk to me to be my friend or anything. One time a lady did invite me to go to that particular pub, but I know she was pretty much a lesbian. It's like I don't want to have an affair with a lady. I just, that's the thing. I'm there for friendship, friendliness. How's this going to happen? Especially if somebody has issues with perhaps autism and they want to go into a social situation where they can just be friendly and chat and everything like that. Well, in America, it's very difficult. I know the Europeans who have come over and have said, oh, well, America's really great. It's not as bad as it's portrayed. Wow, is it too little too late? I mean, you people are trying to tear down Western civilization because you think you've believed all the bad propaganda about Americans. And now you come over and you see, actually, America isn't that bad. A man from South Africa said, America's really nice compared to South Africa. And yet we have a certain number of liberal, young white women, especially, that hate America. For what reason? For what reason? Whoa, my goodness, are they just addled? You want to talk about Kamala Harris being addled? I don't think she ever said she hated America, did she? So that's the end of my little commentary. Thank you if you listened to the end. I appreciate you. God bless you.